Hey, Scott, Machine Gun Dad. Thanks for coming to the channel. Recently I posted a video on MP5 stocks which pissed a lot of people off. I don't really give a shit. You can believe me or not. I've seen the guns be damaged. They say they don't damage them. Believe who you want. I'm just trying to help. And the other thing is, I have no monetary investment in this. I didn't sell any of these stocks. Whatever. But moving on. You saw the header in the video. This is for the new MP5 you bought, and it's not ejecting. The rounds are just laying in the chamber and getting crushed on the bolt going forward. First of all, if it's a new gun, you go to the gun shop, you buy it, you take it home, and it doesn't do that. There's two things you got to do. First of all, make sure you're using the right ammo. You want to try the 124 grain full metal jacket, 9mm. It's a little hotter, a little heavier, gives it a little more inertia. The other thing is, a lot of these guns ship with plastic or garbage metal mags. Buy at least one, preferably two German-made HK mags. That way you're eliminating the magazine from the equation. You know the magazine is good. You put it in the gun, it's a brand new gun, you switch magazines, you got the right ammo and it doesn't work, what do? You send it freaking back. You just paid $2,000 for something that doesn't work. When you buy your car and it doesn't move, do you try to fix it or do you take it to the dealer and have the company fix it? Send the gun back. But you buy it from a friend of yours. Maybe, it's 500-600 rounds in and it started to act up. What do you look for? Well, there are three biggies that you look for. And then there's a fourth one. These have all happened to me, but the fourth one has only happened once. The first major culprit, I have a bolt out of a gun here. I'm hoping you can zoom in on that. Can you see that? There's a copper spring there. That's an MP5 extractor spring. These are notorious for failing, and they're actually designed to fail. If the gun's a little bit over pressure, you'll bend that spring so the gas can vent. Just put a new spring in. It just slides right in. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. The second thing that fails is the actual extractor itself. Okay? Now, on original HK MP5s, that wasn't an issue, but on a lot of the clones, they're using used parts or new made parts that aren't up to spec or used parts that are worn. So that's a part you should replace. And since you're already paying shipping to get a new spring, which you should probably get 3 or 4, and a new extractor, you want to get the third part, which fails. And it doesn't necessarily fail as much as the gun has a part that's out of spec. And that's this part right here. That's the 9mm ejector. If you have a gun, PTR was one of the ones I remember when they first came out. They may have fixed this now. Their ejectors were out of spec. They just wouldn't come up far enough to catch the round, and the round would just flip off in the gun. They would only just barely catch it. So, extractor spring, extractor, and ejector. And if you're going to pay shipping, you might as well order all three. The other thing, which has only happened to me once, it was in my SD, the round would still be in the chamber, and I thought it was a failure to extract or eject. It turned out the bolt wasn't coming all the way back. I broke a firing pin spring. Alright? And what happened is the spring stays captive, the broken part stayed captive inside the bolt carrier assembly, and it bound up the bolt going backwards. So I put a new firing pin spring in, and it's a factory SD, and it's still running today. So, in summary, your MP5 isn't working if it's a brand new gun, and you've already made sure you have good magazines and the proper ammo, and it's still not working, send it back. Don't screw with it. You have a lot of money invested in these guns. Don't screw it. And don't modify anything until you're sure the gun works 100%. These guys that start swapping parts out before the gun's running, you're not addressing the problem, you're just compounding the problem. And if you have to send it back, you have to send it back with the factory parts in it. They're not going to honor the warranty. So get to make sure the gun runs before you start screwing with it and cutting shit off or adding shit on. The other thing is, the gun's used, it's doing these things, you've had it for a while, starts acting up, those 4 parts. just order them from a source. RTG's a good source. HK Parts is a good source. Pay the shipping once and just have them, because some of these are wear parts. And I am going to do a video on maintenance on what you should get for these guns. But we're not going to cover that. But for this specific problem, ejecting and extracting, those 4 parts. Assuming good magazine, good ammo. The other reason I'm telling you to send the gun back when it's new, the receiver could be out of spec, and I've seen that quite a bit on some of the early PTRs and some of the home builds. Okay, now obviously you can't send a home build back to a manufacturer because the guy isn't going to warranty it, but if you've changed all these parts that I've just listed and the gun's not running, you have major problems. You're going to have to take to somebody who's very knowledgeable on, or watch a bunch of videos about headspace and tolerances and stuff like that, and either try to figure it out or send it to a machinist or a gunsmith to fix. Hopefully your receiver's in spec, and all you'll need is one of these 4 parts or a combination of these 4 parts to make your gun run right. I'm just trying to help the new guys. The guys that have been shooting MP5s already know this. But it's so frustrating that you get a brand new gun or a used gun and you take it out and it starts acting up, and you're like, I got to go out on the internet and ask questions. Well, hopefully you'll be able to watch my video and that'll answer the questions for you. I hope I helped you. Thanks for coming to the channel.